what's going on, you guys? We are back with another video on the Urban Platform. Now, I'm not for sure if you checked our last video out, but if you did not, go ahead and make sure you go and watch that one. And you gotta do what?
Like, comment,
and subscribe. So do that for us real quick. Now, Kiko, let us know what we're talking about this week.
This week we're gonna talk about some real deep stuff. Some things that is not touched on in the Black household. This week we're gonna talk about mental health. It is over 20% more likely for Black Americans to experience serious mental health issues than any other race. That is really an issue considering that we really don't talk about it. Everybody always push it aside and say, you know, maybe that person's just a little crazy, or they say, well, they'll grow out of it, or they're a little off. It's something that needs to be talked about, and today we're going to discuss it with you.
We'll start off with talking about, just mental health with how we've experienced it with family and friends, and I'll just start off. So mental health has always not been a big thing in African American communities, like Key stated earlier. And it's up to us and up to people like us to help that out and help that narrative and push that narrative out, saying that what goes on in this house stays in this house, that we all heard as children. And don't get me wrong, I totally agree as a child and now being an adult, but I don't agree with the fact that if it's something that's trauma that happened to you as a child, or something that's detrimental to your mental health happened to you as a child, to keep that bottled in.
My experience, when you do try to express yourself on a mental level and try to relieve all of that pain that you've been indulged in within your life, it's like when I try to express it, I'm labeled as somebody who's like overly expressive or crazy, aggressive or crazy. So a lot of women choose to not express themselves.
Men don't know how to fully embrace their emotions. A lot of times in the African American community, we always say men's supposed to be hard. Well, when did it ever become to a point where men could be hard and cry at the same time? Like, it's never been that. You know what I'm saying? And even with like our black women endure a lot, you know what I'm saying? And have always endured a lot. And for them not to be able to have somebody that they can confide in, whether that is somebody who understands and just allows for them to talk, that's sad, And that's why we have to change that. We can't allow for any more of our black kids to come into the world and not have the opportunity just to speak, just to be able to get their voice heard. Because a lot of times, with older people, depending on how their mentality is, they'll tell the child that the child is wrong automatically. And that's not great mental health.
Well, Keith, you mentioned how when men are younger, they are told to not cry and to hide their emotions, and that plays a huge role in how we grow up and how we think in mental health. And then on top of that, like, I know some of you can relate, like when you're trying to, if you gotten in trouble by your mama and you trying to get your point across and you trying to tell her like, but no, and she's like, shut up, stop talking, like, am I talking like so it's just like you can't even express yourself now, because every time when you've been upset as a child and you tried to express yourself to your black parents and they told you stop talking, please, and then they ask you a question, you try to answer it, stop talking, so it's just like that builds and builds and builds. So when it's time to talk about something, then you can't even figure out why you can't talk about it, why it's so hard to get it off your chest, because you've been told as a child to shut up, to stop talking when you're trying to get your point across or trying to express how you feel. So now you've been holding your feelings in, and now you're dealing with all this stuff, depression, and you're just not talking about it. So it's just very important to at least talk about it, to at least get it out in some form.
It's very uncomfortable to go to someone and speak to a stranger, but it's very relieving, because it's just like when you're able to just talk, it's so much things. Like you wouldn't even know that your mind, your consciousness is thinking of these particular things, like from just a few questions and no one's saying nothing and you're just talking, where it can go. And it's just like just having that sense of being able to relieve all of that pain that you didn't even know you was building up. You wouldn't even know until you go to therapy. because I can have all the people around me, but we're all going through things. So it's like everybody's having these issues, and I'm trying to tell my problem, but I'm trying to help my friend solve her problem. So there's more built up on my back versus me just sitting there talking to someone, they're saying nothing back, and they're just literally just hearing what I'm saying and picking certain things and asking questions about particular things that lead on to a tangent, to another thing, to another thing, to another thing, till you actually find a deeper cause. You come in there for one thing, but you found out that you have something that you was hiding deeply rooted within yourself because your mind won't let you think of it. Because you're running so quickly. Your mind is just going so fast, and you're having these issues. And you're like, dang, why am I being so angry? You're like, well, maybe because that person made me mad. No, it might be something deeper. It might be something deeper. And going to a therapist really relieves that.
A lot of times we see even on reality TV and even also on TV shows where you will have like a couple, say for instance, like the T.I. and Tiny Family Hustle. We can use that for an example. And this past season, we saw that LaToya Luckett and her husband both had some problems going on in their marriage. And it was because that her husband had just lost his mom, unfortunately. But him losing his mom made him shut down. And LaToya was like, okay, babe, we need to go ahead and, try to go see a therapist just for you just to be able to kind of voice what you're feeling out. Because you may not feel like you could talk to me like Keith said. Sometimes you don't feel comfortable with talking to someone who is, that you know. And, for that reason, that's up to you. But let's go talk to somebody. And it took her husband quite some time, at least about 2 episodes, to even feel comfortable with going to talk to somebody. But we saw as viewers that as they went to therapy and as they kind of got help with him and also with their marriage, at the end of the season, he was doing better. And he really thanked his wife, LaToya, for actually taking him and really being by his side.
Therapists are paid just to listen. Now we deal with something like historical adversity, the whole slavery, and then sharecropping, and so on and so on. We've been through so much stuff as a culture, as a race, as a people, and for us to not be able to share those things that have been indulged upon us is like being trapped inside of isolation and not being able to express yourself. It could drive you literally insane.
That's very true, and you did just speak on like how it goes back to slavery days and stuff like that. The Willie Lynch letter was literally a guide on how to psychologically break Black people, how to psychologically break slaves. Now, I come from a family that are like, they're Christians, heavily involved in Christianity, and it's like just pray about it, but prayer alone is not just, and that may be controversial to some people, that some people may disagree with that, but prayer alone is not gonna help a mental issue. It's just gonna mask it. You're just gonna be praying and still feeling how you feel.
I agree with you. Yeah. Because prayer, you can pray but not have faith. You can pray and not believe. And I think if anything, you need to have a psychological force behind it. My word says a lot, but also when I say things with my tongue, I have to mean it. If I don't mean it, it's not going to be foreseen.
Right.
And I think, like you said, I think some people definitely say that prayer is all that you need. I think that we should all look at it as just like prayer is a part of the equation. Prayer is a part of the actual help that you can get to help your mental health. Like, prayer won't be the only thing that you'll need, just like going to therapy won't be the only thing that you need, because it will still be like other tips and trips that can help you out, whether that is exercising or whether that's getting enough sleep. A lot of times with mental health, you're not getting enough sleep. And with that not getting enough sleep and then going to a 9 to 5, having kids and all of the stuff, even if you're married, having problems in your marriage, it's a lot of stuff on one person, you know what I'm saying? And not having those decompressments when being able to kind of just allow for your mind to relax, whether that's reading, whether that's yoga, whether that's more sleep, again, whatever the case may be, it's a part of the equation. So prayer plus talking to, a therapist, to doing some yoga, to getting enough sleep, it's a whole process, but you have to be open to trying it. We tell people to go get therapy, but we don't be by their side with it. We're not beside them and trying to make sure that, okay, cool, how your therapy session went? Or you want me to go with you? Something like that, just to let them know that it's still a support system, even though you got to go talk to somebody.
Speaking of support system, it's also a matter of just checking up on people, and really, because sometimes if sometimes we feel like, oh, I haven't talked to so-and-so in this amount of time. Maybe she's this, maybe she's that. Maybe it's not even has anything to do with you. Maybe she's just going through something. You just never know. So, you just check on people. Like, if you know that a person is normally talkative, normally calling and texting you, and then all of a sudden they might not call you for a week or so, and, instead of taking it personal, maybe just think, maybe they're dealing with something that I don't know about. Maybe, maybe I should just reach out and just see if they're okay.
My Lord, or whoever you believe in, my bad, but like, why, whoever, am I still attracting this type of person? Relationships, and still trying to figure out, like, okay, why am I not being able to get the husband or the wife that I want and that I'm praying for? Because sometimes it's you. Like, sometimes we stand in the way of our own blessings and stand in the way of our own growth, but we don't see that because we don't have nobody to talk to about it. And then you have some people that tell you that, but then, as soon as somebody tell you the truth, you get mad.
You have to fix yourself before you add anybody else to your life permanently. I have to fix what's in me, fix my own health issues, handle my own demons before I add someone else to my journey and try to tackle their demons as well. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. I still have issues that I'm going through. I still have things from past relationships I have not addressed. So until I address those, I will never have a successful relationship.
But yeah, that's true, y'all. Like, I think that's a great segue to just saying that we really just have to treat people the way we want to be treated ourselves.
We're gonna cut that. But anyways.
I was smiling and I was laughing at me. This house stays in this house that we all heard as children. And don't get me wrong, I totally agree as a child and now being an adult with certain stuff, of course. Like, don't be calling out telling people that, we, whatever the case may be, something simple. I can't think of an example. We're gonna pause that, and we're gonna cut that, and we're gonna, what did I stop at? So that's like, okay.
Because you said your parents don't be, they be saying on whatever goes in the household,
I'm gonna stop right there. What's the motherfucking procedure you got in your head? You can check your part. I was quiet.
I'm done.
Thank you.